Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're gonna have a look at another affordable fountain pen, the Jinhao 82. This pen comes in many different colorways and currently retails for around $8 to $10. I have two different ones. One is the standard green and the other is this pretty sparkly blue. I really like the design, but credit doesn't belong to Jinhao. They simply copied Sailor Pro Gear Slim, which is a flat top version of the Sailor 911S, and we will return to comparisons with the original later. Jinhao copied almost everything from Sailor, so the pen looks quite good. It has no finial on top, but this small plastic piece can be unscrewed from the pen, which reveals this brass insert. The clip is attached to it, and the clip is extremely stiff, not exactly practical, almost unusable as a clip. The clip is also a lot less detailed than the one on Sailor. The cap then tapers up slightly towards a cap ring that is engraved Jinhao and nothing else. The cap ring on the original Sailor is a lot nicer, more precisely manufactured and more detailed. At the end of the pen body we again see no finial. This bottom part cannot be easily unscrewed or unplugged, and we can see a little injection molding mark as well as another plated trim ring. The cap unscrews in 1-2 rotations, which reveals the stainless steel clip and the plastic feed. I didn't have a ton of luck with Jinhao's number 5 nibs, but you can unscrew the entire nib unit and swap it for another Jinhao number 5 nib unit, or you can pull out the nib and the feed, keep the original feed and replace the nib with a Yovo number 5 nib. The section is almost identical to the one on Sailor pens. It's 9.5 mm wide at the narrowest point, then tapers up slightly to about 10.5 mm, and the threads above the section are not sharp. Unscrewing the pen body gives us access to the cartridge converter filling system. The converter is included, it works quite well, I don't have any complaints about it, and there is an O-ring that prevents the body from accidentally screwing out. And just like on the original, we also get a metal piece inserted into the section, and the plastic threads on the pen body screw onto these metal threads on the metal piece. Inside the cap there is a plastic liner that helps with the sealing, and it works quite well. I don't have any issues with this pen drying out too quickly. At this price point, I don't see anything too wrong with the construction, even though once you hold the Sailor next to it, it does feel a little bit cheap. 12.3 centimeters capped, it's definitely not a full-sized pen, but at 20 grams it doesn't feel too flimsy. 11.5 grams and 11 centimeters when uncapped. It's still somewhat usable, but as you can see, the Lamy Safari looks like a giant pen next to it. Luckily it posts very well, and it's only 14 centimeters when posted. Now let's have a look at how it writes. So the pen is the Jinhao 82, and this is the extra fine nib, and the ink is Lamy Black. The nib is okay now, but I had to tune it as the tines were slightly misaligned out of the box. It does about 0.5 millimeter line, which is European extra fine, so not as fine as some of the Japanese extra fine nibs. When it comes to wetness, it is quite wet. I think the feed pushes on the nib a little bit, which makes the tines spread out, and the pen writes a little bit wetter than intended, I believe. When it comes to horizontal and vertical stroke variation, we don't get any. And when it comes to skipping, this was my fault, but after tuning the nib, it doesn't skip too much. And hard starts, it's fine now that I have tuned the nib. However, I had some flow issues with other inks. Flex, it is fairly stiff. You will not get any meaningful line variation out of it. And reverse, the ink keeps flowing. It's only slightly scratchy. However, you don't get a super big difference between reverse and normal writing. Now let's look at my other Jinhao 82 nib, the Fude. The Fude nib is a little bit picky about the ink as well. However, once you find a suitable ink, it works quite well. It makes about 1.5 millimeter line at the thickest points. Let's check for a line variation that we can get out of this Fude nib. Yeah, it is quite usable. It writes in reverse. Very fine line. What I like about some Fude nibs is that you can get horizontal and vertical stroke variation out of them. However, because this nib is so small, it's a little bit hard to do that. My favorite affordable Fude nib is on the Sailor Fude Demanan pen, which I have already reviewed. But once you find a suitable ink, then this Fude nib is also fully usable. The blue pen originally came with a medium nib, but it was skipping, it was having some issues with hard starts, so I've decided to try the extra fine, and I'm still not impressed by it, even though it's also usable once I have tuned it. Ergonomically, the pen works quite well. There are no sharp edges anywhere. I think the balance in the hand is alright, but again, the credit goes to Sailor for designing their originals very well. So what do I think about this pen? Well, I like that it comes in many different finishes, and I like that the converter is included and that Jinhao gives us an option to get a Fude nib. However, the design is way too derivative, the clip is very stiff, and the nib performance is quite inconsistent. So I can't really recommend this pen to everyone. If you can tune your nibs and you like the design, then go ahead. If you just want a Fude nib, then consider Sailor Fude Demanen, unless you really want to try one for as little money as possible. Another option is if you have a spare Yowo number 5 nib lying around, then you can easily swap it with one of the Jinhao nibs in the 82. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!